morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, Daryl. How are you?
Well, it's always a treat to talk to one of my clients, so I am in a very good mood right now.
Excellent.
Stephanie, I really appreciate you taking the time today to record this interview and give me some feedback about how our business is performing and what changes and what impact it has made on your business. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm super excited to do this with you because honestly, you guys have been so fantastic. So throw your questions at me and I'll be perfectly honest because it's been nothing but an excellent process here. So yeah, ready to
Well,
go.
Stephanie, what initially led you to seek out an accounting firm?
Well, I think, originally I didn't fully understand how, like, what the lack of visibility I had in my books. I really didn't understand what I didn't understand. And essentially, after chatting with you, for several months, and learning a little bit about your approach and about how you really help small businesses understand their finances, and you really kind of shed some light on me and the company that I was working with, in that I really didn't have any idea of my books and I didn't really understand what I was looking at. I just thought it would be really, really good to reach out to you and to talk to you and learn more about maybe what you could do for me and my business. And after that first initial meeting, I knew for sure it was a right move. So you really spoke to a lot of the things that I struggled with. And you did a quick audit on my books and you pointed out some pretty significant issues that were kind of fairly obvious from any, accounting standpoint. So yeah, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, just because I understood that I didn't understand my books after talking with you.
What did you encounter were your actually biggest challenges from the finance perspective from not having that information when you look back to before you started working with us?
One of the biggest problems was that there was just very little communication. Um, I didn't really hear from my accounting firm until the books were reconciled, which was not on a quarterly basis. It was slightly more random than that. So oftentimes after the reconciliation was completed, the books were already out of date. So I didn't have any actual visibility of where my finances stood on a day-to-day basis. And through the lack of communication, it just took a really long time to get responses. So I would ask a question and often it would be days before I got a response. And, the responses were generally unclear. So it just oftentimes prompted more questions. So I always left phone calls and meetings with more questions than answers. So that was a big challenge for me.
Okay. So how has your experience been working with our team, and have any moments actually stood out for you?
I think the major thing working with your team that have stood out for me is just your responsiveness and the extensive knowledge. Each team member brings its own set of skills and knowledge. I've worked with a couple of your team members, and they're always so responsive, always so knowledgeable. And what I really appreciate is that they're open to make suggestions that will improve my books and my visibility overall. Like as an example, one of the first changes that we made when transferring my books to you was going to accrued bookkeeping, which was a new thing to me. I didn't really understand it, and that has changed my visibility significantly.
I see. So, for clarification, when you say accrual-based accounting, what was being done before was your accountants were booking everything based on a cash basis. So whenever they saw a transaction, an inflow or outflow in the bank account, they just booked that entire transaction in that month. which
Yeah.
skews your results, because if you pay several bills all at once, it looks like you had a horrible month, which really wasn't the case. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And then in combination with not having the books reconciled on a timely manner, there was just no visibility. You'd look in the books and it just didn't make sense ever.
So now that you've been with us for a while, how has your understanding or confidence in your financials changed over time?
Oh gosh, a lot. So one of the biggest things I've recognized is that I didn't realize how little I knew. And you kind of understand, you're like, yeah, the P&L, yeah, I get it. I get the lingo. But what your team has really helped me with is actually understanding the value of the reports and what I'm looking at. And then that has then enabled me to make actual financial decisions as opposed to just decisions based on intuition, which is essentially what I was doing previously. And then I guess overall, the reporting has really provided a huge value to me. So, I'm provided a quarterly report, which is just an overall high level view of what's happened the year to date. So that report helps me understand where I've been and where I might be going, but also it's helped us tweak the books along the way to give us better data.
I see. So what results or improvements have you noticed since we started working together then?
Uh, Truth of the matter is, I've understood now basically how much my business costs me a month. I know that sounds ridiculous. I didn't really have a full sense of what that number was. So I now understand exactly what my business costs me each month. Um, and I also have a really good sense of how much I need to make each month in order to hit my revenue goals. So to be honest, it's just, the basics, but those basics are so valuable. Also, one of the biggest things for me is just looking at the books and having trust in them. Often, before we switched to you, I'd look at the books and I'd question things, I'd question categories, I'd go deep and say, well, why is this transaction here? But I can look at the books and feel confident that what I'm looking at is actual data and I can make decisions based on that.
So I hear this a lot, Stephanie. What I hear is a lot of accountants are really focused on fulfilling CRA requirements from a compliance perspective and making sure that you meet your tax deadlines. But a lot of them don't think, you know what? My clients actually need this information to make useful business decisions and informed decisions
Mm.
based on the numbers. And that's just something that isn't in the DNA of a lot of accountants. And I think that's
Mm.
what you've noticed in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly it, actually. You've sort of hit the nail on the head right there. It was very transactional, I've checked all my boxes previously, and now it's more of a relationship, right? You're providing me feedback, you're providing me information that will help me with my business, so that I can grow and do better business.
This might be a bit of a segue into the next question, but how would you sum up our approach and service in a few words?
So I would say accessible, friendly, and knowledgeable.
Excellent. Great characteristics, and very proud to hear that, because we spent a lot of time training the team on soft skills and communication and ensuring that they speak plain English to entrepreneurs who obviously are not accountants. And that's a big part of the training in our company, right?
Hmm.
Is that they come in using lingo. And I think that's another complaint I hear a lot about. Last question, Stephanie. Would you recommend us to other business owners? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would obviously recommend you to other business owners. In fact, I have. And basically, one of the conversations I would have with them is, do you trust your books? Do you understand when you look at your reports? Do you understand what decisions you can make and how you can grow and improve your business? And if the answer is no, then, I start to talk about how I switched and how it's literally changed my business. And to the point, actually, where since I've been, with you guys, I've now doubled the size of my company because I was able to have that confidence to hire more people and make those decisions financially. So if you want to grow and you want to have a real sense of security in terms of your finances, then I would say switch, give you a shout.
Stephanie, I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, and this is the reason why we started Vistance, was because too many times we were seeing great businesses fail because they did not have good control of their finances. And I found that to be quite tragic, because finance and accounting is a necessary evil that you have to take on as a business owner when you're a creative person, when you're a marketing person. And we just want to remove that barrier and level the playing field so that a small business like you can have the resources, the same resources as a Fortune 100 company, and have the tools that you need to make the decisions the exact same way the large businesses do.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that you and your team have provided me is confidence. And that has allowed me to take the risks that I previously didn't have the confidence to take. And, as a small business owner, most decisions are risky. And when you're trying to make risky financial decisions, those are very stressful. But it hasn't been stressful because I know that there's the finances will back up the risks that I'm taking. So it's a calculated risk.
Excellent. Well, Steph, I know you've got a really busy year, and so I won't take up more of your time because you're busy doubling and tripling your revenue.
That's
So I'll
right.
let you get back to growing that business of yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daryl. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you, Stephanie.